I don't believe that we can add anything to the discussion of who's going to win the Super Bowl per se.
Yeah.
But my thing this week is kind of like, how does Kansas City's presence in there affect what the Bills did under the guise of sort of like, if not now, when? The last 2 years were... We always talk window opportunity, and I know, Duffy, you hate that.
Yeah.
But it was at its widest the last 2 years. It's not going to get any easier.
It is quite the unusual combination. I mean, you look at the Eagles last year, one bit off offensive coordinator, defensive. You know, it doesn't quite work as well. Guys get hurt, don't get hurt. You know, your head coach, the stability, everything that goes on with the camaraderie with the team. Your stars play and are able to perform at big times. Like, the Bills have gotten the roster for the most part right. I mean, I'm not too keen on just saying like it's
the last 2 years.
I would say the last 2 years, definitely the roster's right, the quarterback's right. It's almost as if one or two factors off, key injury, losing Milano, a play goes one way or another. It's so bizarre that Kansas City's been able to find the right combination for the last 4 years, and the Bills have missed it by one number every year.
Kansas City being in the Super Bowl this year is encouraging, not discouraging for Bills fans. Because, let's keep in mind here, Kansas City went in and handled Baltimore no problem, a team that the Bills match up really well against. The Bills, decimated by injury on defense, managed to play Kansas City down to the final minute in their own house. And somehow, despite this crazy season, had the second overall seed. It tells me that Kansas City is the team you have to beat. Buffalo has the ability to do that. You don't have to worry about anybody else coming out of the AFC, short of the Bengals if they manage to figure out all the stuff they got to figure out this offseason. Kansas City being there tells me we're golden. Everything is going to be okay.
But what's happened in the last few years? That's what I guess I get to. It's been every other way. 15 seconds can't win. 5 minutes can't win. Overtime can't win. It's just
when it happens, and I really believe it's going to surprise us. Maybe shock us when it happens, because they're not going to come out of the position of strength that they've been the last 2 years. It's going to be one of these things where everything falls into place and like, whoa, they're in the Super Bowl.
But you're kind of describing that this year, right? I mean, the Bills were at 500, 5-5, and then 6-6. The Bills were in the 11th spot and managed to work themselves up to the highest position they've been in going into the playoffs in the McDermott era. Like, if you don't have a guy in A.J. Klein who was on his couch a week before he was starting linebacker against Patrick Mahomes, I'm convinced you win that game. In fact, if you have one of three guys that aren't even regular starters, I'm convinced the Bills win that game.
I want to roll one other thing out. It's just, as we wrap up this discussion. What Kansas City did 2 years ago with Tariq Hill, like brilliant.
Yeah.
5 draft picks of the guy that was going to be a very difficult sign under the salary cap. It's the same thing that the Bills are facing with Stephon Diggs.
Yeah, I don't know.
5 draft picks, including a 1 and a 2 on the Hill trade.
I mean, Duffy brought this up. I don't know what you do with him and his kind. I mean, it's that hard to sort of move going forward. That being said, a lot of people believe he's a part of the chemistry problems on that team offensively, which I don't necessarily believe, but a lot of people believe that going forward, and you still haven't gotten it done yet. If
you could trade him, wouldn't you?
I think the Bills would if they could, but that's the whole point of it all. You've got the talent to replace his ability.
Do you?
Yeah, I think you.
Where?
Come on.
Show me.
Well, it's going to happen after the
draft. You got 2 tight ends and 2 wide receivers that you believe in,
and you're going to draft into that position.
You have a single wide receiver. Gabe Davis is a free agent. He's going to be gone. And I'll be honest with you, as much as a Gabe Davis fan I am, even if he's back, I don't know how I believe in him with his up and down stuff. Look, and you bring up the Tariq Hill example. It's 2 different people. You have Tariq Hill, a guy going into his prime, and wasn't going to be a massive cap hit on the trade, as opposed to Stephon Diggs, who's going to be 31 when the season starts and has an albatross of a contract. Even with that being said, if you could trade him, I do not trade him. You got Khalil Shakir coming back. That's exciting. You got a kid named Justin Shorter who essentially had a redshirt year because he hurt himself on the practice squad. And Stephon Diggs. Those are the guys that you can rely on. And well, that's just it, right? Like, you don't know what's coming out of the mystery bag. You could get Matt Milano. You could get Kaiir Elam, right? You have to keep Diggs if McDermott is good at one thing. It is leaning on his veterans to right the ship when things go wrong during the season. You have to rely on Diggs to do that for you moving forward.
We got a long time to kind of sort through this.
Yeah. Every single time it seems to be the problem. It's always Diggs. Every single time the Bills win, it seems to be Diggs. So he's the fall guy in all these situations. I just don't know if it was meant to be against Kansas City during this run.